Good morning, KBOI. Good morning. This is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 generation Idahoan. Every week here on the great KBOI at 7 a.m., we are just trying to bring you what is great about Idaho, what is great about America. You know, this coming weekend, we've got the 4th of July coming up. It is Independence Day. We're in Idaho, the greatest state in the union, if you ask me. I'm born and raised here. Many of my family have been. And today, we are going to be speaking to Roger Phillips, the Public Information Supervisor for Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Before we get to Roger, again, we're tying together 4th of July. What's happening in Idaho? What's happening about fishing in the 4th of July, something for everybody that loves fishing to get excited about. But before we do, this show is sponsored by Old Arms of Idaho, oldarmsofidaho.com. They are your firearms, estate, Western, and military collectible specialists. If you have something that is a curio, a relic, something of the historical nature that is a firearm, Western or military, give Old Arms of Idaho a call. They also are the best estate transition folks in the entire business. So let's get to Roger. Welcome to the show, Roger.
Hey, it's great to be here. I mean, you know, I love to talk about fishing, and obviously I'm representing the department, but as an angler, it's just, there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I fish a lot, right? I'm born and raised fishing with Grandpa over in eastern Idaho, Swan Valley, the Snake River, trout fly hatches. You know, I lived in Alaska for 3 years, and now I'm lucky enough to live and fish all over Idaho. And now we have you here in preparation for the 4th of July to help all these wonderful KBOI listeners and anybody that listens to the greatidahoshow.com podcast. Tell us anything that you would like to tell us about Idaho and fishing, Idaho Department Fishing Game. The floor is yours, good sir.
Hey, that sounds great. And let me say, one of the things I love about living in Idaho is that there's any day of the year I can go out and have a decent chance of catching a fish. And when we think of fishing, we kind of think of nice weather, sunny day. You know, my favorite kind of fishing is throwing the old sneakers on and a pair of shorts and going wading some cool mountain stream and catching a few trout. Unfortunately, when we talk about 4th of July, you know, fireworks, hot dogs, and wading a cool mountain stream, those are kind of the trifecta for me. And, you know, fortunately, we are in that time of year when things are really kind of at its peak, and we just have a lot of great opportunities out there. And I didn't prepare a lot for this, but I did make a little cheat sheet because I don't do math in my head very well.
Sure.
But I wanted to share with everybody, in the last 2 months, in May and June, we either have stocked or are stocking 665,000 catchable rainbow trout. And that's a pretty good number unto itself. Huge. That's a huge number. But to translate that even a little easier, that's 111,000 daily limits of trout. So I kind of leave it up to your listeners, you know, up to you to go out and catch those daily limits of trout, because they're out there, and 111,000 of you could all catch them, and all you do is take the fish that we put in May and June. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and that's just for trout.
Well, so I utilize the internet and I look up when these are going to be stocked and where, and it helps me know where some of this is coming. I've fished the Loman fishing ponds, often know when they're coming. Where do people find this information?
You know, on our website is the best place to go, and we have a couple of resources. We have a fish stocking page, which will obviously tell you where we're going to put all these fish and when. And then we also have what we call the fishing planner. So if you're curious about a certain area or a certain body of water, you can go on the fishing planner. You can plug that in, and it will tell you what fish were stocked there recently, what fish are there, what the regulations are, a map of how to find the place. So there's just a lot of great information for anglers there. And I really encourage the people to take a look at it, whether you've lived here your whole life or whether you moved here yesterday or visiting for the week. It's just a great resource to find out a lot of information about fishing.
Okay, so if you're just tuning in, okay, ladies and gentlemen, KBOI listeners, it's a beautiful day. We've got the 4th of July weekend coming up. Right now, you're listening to Roger Phillips, the Public Information Supervisor for Idaho Fish and Game, an enthusiast, a fisherman himself, a man of Idaho that knows pretty much most everything there is to do about good fishing here in Idaho, and that's what we're talking about. So what else you got for us, Roger?
Well, I wish that the former there was exactly true, because I'm like everybody else. I go out there and put the worm on the hook or tie on the fly and cast out there, and sometimes I catch them and sometimes I don't. And I wish there was a secret playbook that I had, but I'm just like everybody else. I go out there and have a good time and try to catch some fish. And I think what I want people to kind of take away with this 4th of July thing is you kind of have all the options, but you want to think about what that weather, we're probably going to have some heat, what that's doing to the fish. And so when you look at some of these lower elevation, around the Treasure Valley, just the reservoirs, the lakes, they're starting to heat up a little bit. So the fish are there, they're still biting, but you want to concentrate on those mornings and evenings. Maybe go a little deeper than you went a few weeks ago or a few months ago, because those fish are a little bit deeper. But as you move up in elevation, you're really hitting your prime times, especially with kind of those think about 3,000 to 5,000, even 6,000 foot elevation. That stuff really is hitting their prime there. Those lakes, kokanee anglers have been doing really well. They tend to like a little bit warmer, but not too warm. Your warm water fish just thrive. Obviously, they live up to their name. Bass do really well in warmer temperatures, and they're just an amazing game fish in Idaho that some people really overlook. And I'll touch on that a little bit later.
Please.
But then what's also exciting to me is 4th of July weekend is kind of the unofficial kickoff of mountain lakes.
Yep.
And there's a couple of things I want to touch on there. We stock those lakes as fingerlings, so if you go in and see something that says, oh, they just put 5,000, 10,000 fish in there, well, those are called fingerlings for a reason. They're about the length of your finger. So when you're looking at those stocking reports for those mountain lakes, you want to look back a couple of years and then go, okay, this was recently stocked within the last 3 years. Now's the time to go up and catch those fish. And the other thing I want to throw out about mountain lakes, and then I'll let you get a word in edgewise.
Oh, it's all good. Let me just say, you are all welcome with this information here, Roger. It's about Idaho fishing game. That's what's great here. And 4th of July, let it rip.
Yeah, okay. So, 4th of July weekend, a lot of those higher elevations are just opening up from the snow, and it's not uncommon to have these lakes still frozen over in late May, even early June. And also the road work getting in, the roads and the trails getting into these places, it takes them a while to get out there and clear all those things. So plan on doing a little homework. My short advice is hit some of those lakes that you can either drive to or hike a short distance to, because some of the real backcountry stuff just might not be ready yet.
So I'll throw one out as an Idahoan. We've got about 3 minutes in the end of this segment, but man, I love nothing more than to go to Sage End Reservoir. And I don't know if you stock up there. It's still fishing in Idaho. We still have Idaho fishing games. We have things to be conscious of, but you can navigate back into that wonderful lake, and you can walk the circumference of that entire lake, fish everything, put a canoe out there and check it out. And it's just prehistoric. There has been some forestry things happening out there as of late, but I got to throw one out for Sage End Reservoir. I love Sage End.
Oh yeah. Beautiful place, especially the opportunity to camp and fish. And we do stock Sage Hen pretty well. We also, I believe it's Tripod near there.
Yep.
There's a couple of others that, the beauty of Idaho is if you see water and it's more than about knee deep, then there's probably fish in there. And so that's part of the fun, figuring out what fish are in there and how to catch them.
So going to throw out a piece of advice for all of y'all that may have just moved here to Idaho, but forestry is a big thing in Idaho too. If you're going to go into a backcountry lake area, take a saw or a chainsaw or some way to get yourself out, because it could be a windy day out there and you might end up with even a 12-inch diameter tree laying across the road is a little bit stronger than your karate chop down the middle of that tree. So take some stuff with you. It is the back roads. It is Idaho.
Yeah, that's solid advice. Go prepared for what you don't think is going to happen, and you'll probably be okay.
Yep, take a blanket, take a rain fly, take everything. So this is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 generation Idahoan. I love Idaho. This is the Great Idaho Show. We have the Idaho Fish and Game here with Roger Phillips. I love this. We are so lucky to have you here, Roger. We're going to move into this next segment. And essentially how we set this up is we've got a 4th of July weekend coming, and I invited Roger down and I said, you tell us everything you would like to share. There's no format here. This is just me and a great representative of our great fishing game talking. And that's the great IdahoShow.com that you can hear this too if you missed it today. And before I go and transfer into this next segment, don't forget Old Arms of Idaho. They're your firearms, Western, and military collectible specialists. This is about the history business, ladies and gentlemen. It might not be just the subject of a gun. You could have something significant or something important to your family. Again, this is the Great Idaho Show right here on KBOI 670 AM, 93.1 FM, and we'll be right back. Good morning, KBOI. Again, this is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 generation on The Great Idaho Show. Hey, what is great about Idaho? I think Idaho Fish and Game does a fantastic job of a really tough challenge. You know, you're connecting people with the wildlife of just such a wonderful state. And how do we do this responsibly? But it's not just all about the rules and the regulations. We are here today about the fun. We are here today about fishing. This is a pastime, a lifetime pastime that when you get a fishing pole in the hands of a kid that's 6 years old and they catch their first year, odds are you're going to have a fisher person for life. Welcome to the show again. We have Roger Phillips of the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. He is the Public Information Supervisor. What do you think, Roger? What do we got going on coming up?
Well, I think one of the things I want to share with people is Idaho's really renowned for its trout fishing because we have, you mentioned Eastern Idaho, South Fork of the Snake River, the Henry's Fork, we have Silver Creek, we have the South Fork of the Boise. We have these literally world-renowned trout fisheries, and we are a trout state.
Yeah.
But a little trivia, when we do our fishing surveys, one of the top three, and we say, what fish do you like to catch? Usually the top three, always in the top five, is whatever's biting. And so
you're not fishing, you're catching, hopefully.
Yeah. So we have a lot of opportunity for a lot of different species of fish, and that can come down to bluegill that are the size of your palm. And we've got sturgeon that are, 8-9 feet long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just hundreds of pounds and everything in between. And I think one of the things that sometimes people overlook is how good our warm water fisheries can be and how easy they are to get to, because a lot of our reservoirs are in some of those lower elevation places. The Snake River runs through darn near the entire state. North Idaho has incredible amount of lakes and reservoirs and rivers up there. And there's just great fishing opportunity for a real variety of fish. And I sometimes laugh when I see people playing bumper boats on some of these really famous trout streams.
Yeah.
And then I go down to the Snake River and I'm having the time of my life catching smallmouth bass on a fly rod, no less.
Sure.
And I feel lonely down there.
Yeah.
And I wonder, did I miss something because there's nobody out here? Am I not supposed to be out here today? Because it's just, you don't see anybody. And so the point of that is that go find these little special places and get a little, I wouldn't even say out of your comfort zone, just be willing to try something new. And there's some amazing rewards out there for those who are willing to just go try something a little bit different. You get the opportunity to be a beginner again. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
And all you got to do is get out there, do a little bit of research if you've never tried. Like me, I've been a trout person my whole life, born and raised all over the place. But I have had some friends that introduced me to the warm water fun of bass and just how quick and fast and just they come right off the top of the water flying out. Here in the Treasure Valley, there's a lot of people moving here, listening to KBOI. They're learning what's happening. I'll throw out one water source that just seems great, which is CJ Strike. Mm-hmm. What would you be able to share about CJ?
Well, CJ has such a large amount of fish and a variety of fish. It's one of those really fun ones. It's like I can dig into my tackle box and put on a little white grub or a little green worm and cast it out there. And I have no idea whether I'm going to catch a bass, a largemouth bass, a smallmouth bass, a perch, a crappie, a bluegill, a trout. And it's just a really fun way to fish. And the other thing is when you have either beginner anglers or kids especially, if you can get them into anything, they're going to be excited. And you mentioned it. They're going to have a good time. It's going to be memorable. You might catch a bullfrog. You don't know, but it's all good.
That's true, right?
And we also sometimes, especially with young anglers, we turn up our nose because they catch a sucker or they catch a carp or they catch something
or a whitefish, misunderstood fish.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, those are no good. No, they're great because you just caught a fish and that person had a really good time doing it. And so let it go and say, great, let's try and catch another one, and just be open to whatever's available to catch. And sometimes you'll get a great meal out of the deal, and sometimes you just let them go and they go off on their way and you got a good story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, we're not catching diapers here. We're catching nature's bounty, right? This is the gift of the world to what we're doing here in Idaho.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how many real opportunities that there are here. I have used the fish planner as well. Just get out there and do a little bit of looking for some water and think about what you can go out and do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing I'll throw in too is, obviously you need to pay attention to the limits, but realize that limits are there for biological reasons. And if there's no limit, it's because there doesn't need to be a limit, because those fish are really good at reproducing themselves. Sure. And a lot of people get confused by that because they think that, oh no, we're catching too many of them. But when you talk about a crappie, for example, a single female will lay 4,000 or 5,000 eggs.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And it's usually more about what the water conditions are. They have good years, they have bad years. When they have good years, there's crappie everywhere. Everyone's catching them, having a great time. And then a few years later, it might be a lot harder to catch, and people have the mistaken idea that, well, that's because we caught too many. It's like, no, not that. That's not what drives that population. And if it was, we would have limits on them. And we talk to anglers a lot. We get people's opinions. How do you want these bodies of water managed? They tell us, and then we go in and kind of write a prescription, if you will. Here's the best way to manage that piece of water to get what the public wants at the numbers that we're all hoping for. So there's a lot of thought that goes behind this. I'm being a little bit of a fish nerd, but people need to understand that if there's fish there and you have the opportunity to catch some, take some home for dinner, by all means, take advantage of that opportunity.
Question for you, for me that doesn't know. I do stick to trout a bunch, but there is a way to identify whether the fish you caught was wild or not. Is that true? Is that a farce? What is that?
For trout, that's a little harder because when it comes to salmon and steelhead, we clip the adipose fin.
Okay.
So it's easy to tell that those come from a hatchery. Sometimes where we'll say there will be wild cutthroat and hatchery cutthroat, sometimes we'll do the same thing. Otherwise, it's anybody's guess. And a couple of things on that, we can stock some of these lakes with fish that are rainbows that are 10 to say 13 inches long.
Yep.
And those are usually pretty easy to spot. They got kind of blunt nose. Some of their fins might be worn down, but we also stock some of those as fingerlings. So it might have grown up in that lake, and it is just a beautiful, healthy looking fish. And people go, oh yeah, that's a wild fish. Well, no, we just put it in as a fingerling.
Yeah, and it grew up in a healthy, natural, freshwater environment that hasn't got ruined by the humans, and hopefully never will.
Yeah, and it wasn't raised in a raceway for, a year or 6 months or however long it takes, where it's rubbing up against its buddies and its fins are getting a little bit worn down, and there's nothing wrong with those fish. They're very valuable. But yeah, they tend to look different. And especially when you talk about, reservoirs, couple of things. The fish are there probably because we put them in there and we've managed them.
Yeah.
And we raised and released 18 different species of fish, which most people think of us as raising trout and releasing. But we have a lot of different fish that we raise. And the other thing is when we're raising trout, those are all sterile. So we're not putting them in there to boost a population when we're talking catchable rainbows. They're out there for anglers to catch. So if you want to let them go, that's fine, but don't feel like you're boosting the population. You're boosting the population by one, and you're actually not doing that because it's just keeping it even.
Yeah, you're just keeping it steady, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Going back to CJ Strike locally, Treasure Valley, KBOI, best radio station on Idaho Earth here. it sounds like the Forrest Gump box of chocolates of fishing out there.
Yeah.
And there's other rewards out there. What about the tagged fish? What's going on at CJ? Any information you could share?
I don't know if there's specifically tagged fish in there right now. I think Idaho Power and somebody from Idaho Power would have to tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Sometimes they tag fish. They have little reward tags on them. We do that throughout the state for specific things. Like when we're trying to find out, like I say, to find out if we're over harvesting fish, one way that we will do is we'll tag a bunch of those fish. Some of those tags will have rewards. They'll say, turn it into us. You'll get, $50 or $5 or something
Sure.
like that. And that gives us an idea of how many fish are out there and how many are getting harvested. So we can say, okay, yeah, maybe we need to change the rules a little bit, or we go, no, we're doing just fine on this stuff. And that's called the Tag You're It program. And it's, we use it throughout the state. We're usually looking for specific answers on a specific body of water. We're not just out there. It's not the lottery. We're not just out there trying to get people to go out and catch a fish because it's tagged.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're out there. And that's something that we really appreciate when people turn those things in, because that helps us answer those important questions.
And so when you do, which I have caught them before, and it's exciting, it's this little kind of pinkish little tube hanging off the back of a fish. It's very small, but you'll see it. And you can very nicely remove that fish if you want to release it. And there's a little code that's on there, and you can go to the Idaho Fish and Game website and punch that in and provide a little bit of data for that, right? Am I describing that correctly?
No, you're describing it perfectly.
Okay, cool. It's fun. It is it's just exciting. I mean, it's why gold miners dig for gold. You never know if you found the right spot or not. And if you do find one, you get a great opportunity to help the Idaho Department Fish and Game know a little bit more about what they're doing. And you have to understand that Roger Phillips is here not to talk about our limits and limitations and all these rules and regulations. Yes, be responsible, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention to the rules and regulations, because those are designed to support everybody. But we're trying to be here. It's about the fun. This is about fishing. And I loved you brought that to me, Roger. I'm not steering that. Your whole mission here was fun. And I love that that's what it's about. So this is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 generation Idahoan. This is the Great Idaho Show. We're talking to Roger Phillips. He is the Public Information Supervisor for the Idaho Department Fish and Game. Stay tuned. We'll be right back here at the Great Idaho Show on KBOI. Welcome back, KBOI. Welcome back. This is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 generation Idahoan. This is the Great Idaho Show, thegreatidahoshow.com. Hey, this next weekend coming up, we've got the 4th of July. A lot of people getting out, a lot of people wanting to go fishing, a lot of new people. You could be new here to Idaho and not know where to go and what to do about fishing. But I got to say, I can't imagine a single family out there in the American world that doesn't have somebody that would love to be fishing or has fished. And I got to tell you, if you're trying to give a great time to a young one, it doesn't cost a lot of money to get a pole, get a license. We're talking to Roger Phillips of the Idaho Department and Fish and Game. He's a public information supervisor. Roger, you were just talking to me about, how convenient being in Idaho and fishing. You might not know you're going to go fishing that day. What are we talking about with that?
Well, it's wherever you go in Idaho, there's always fishing close by, and there's lots and lots of folks who are going to be out 4th of July weekend, camping, recreating, doing all kinds of things that aren't fishing, and they're going to look up and there's going to be a body of water in front of them, and might think, well, gee, maybe I could go fishing. And I'm saying, yes, not only you can, you should.
You should be, yes.
Because it's fun, and it's a great opportunity for your kids. Fishing gear is not expensive. It's, you could probably spend $25-$30 and walk out of your local tackle store with a perfectly usable rod and reel and some basic tackle. And we make things convenient for you at Fish and Game, where if you're in self-service, you can get on our website and you can buy a fishing license while you're out in the field. It can be a 1-day, it can be a 3-day, it can be an annual one, whatever. And as soon as you download that, you can start fishing immediately. You're legally ready to go. And it's a really simple process. I also want to throw in, kids 14 and under don't need a fishing license.
Okay, that's a good note.
Yeah, you hand them the rod and say, go at it, kids. And they will have a blast. And it's just a great opportunity to kind of round out your trip when you're out on 4th of July weekend, because you're probably doing a lot of other things, but first thing in the morning, you can go fish for a half an hour during prime time. You can go right back to what you were doing. Same thing in the evenings, or just when you have an hour or two to kill, grab that rod, go find some water, and go see if you can catch a fish.
I mean, so I've made this life of not deciding where I think the fish are. You know, you can get into all that science, fast water, meeting up with slow water, you know, eddies and all the holes, but don't limit yourself. You might be surprised there's fish in, geez, it seems like just about every inch of the fresh running water that's out there. The lakes are stocked. What were those numbers you were saying, Roger, about the stocked number of fish? How many limits are out there?
Oh, yeah. We're putting, in May and June, we're putting out 665,000 catchable rainbow trout, and that is 111,000 daily limits of trout.
Wow.
So that's, you know, that's putting a lot of fish in a lot of
For
creeks.
sure. And so also pointing out, you know, in Idaho is not centralized so much. We got the Treasure Valley going up, but there is a tackle shop within just about every single town that's got more than 50 people in it.
Yep.
I don't care if you need to buy the Barbie Zebco pink pole that's 4 feet long and it's got some line in it. You can get yourself a hook and a worm and find something within 10 miles of most of those little towns, whether it be a river or any one of those little bodies of water. And Idaho Fish and Game has supported a great fishery for you to catch fish.
Yeah, and I can even sweeten that pot a little bit more at a lot of our state parks. We have loaner rods there. So people
my
can
goodness.
just go in and say, hey, we'd like to borrow a rod and tackle and go fishing for a little while. And they'll hand it to you. It's free. And you bring it back and done deal. And you just got to go fishing for free in Idaho.
So let's connect a memory to people here in Idaho who just licensed their vehicle probably very recently, and they offer you this opportunity to pay, I think, $10 to get a parking pass at one of those state parks.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that those are the state parks that you would find some of those loaning fishing supplies at.
Yes, and when I say free, you do still need a license there if you're over the age of 14. But yeah, the rod and the tackle are free to use, and that's what they're out there for. So don't feel like we're doing you a favor. You're doing us a favor by using this resource and enjoying yourself.
I think it's such a great investment because what we're talking about, Idaho State Fish and Game, you know, the concept of government isn't such a popular subject in the world today. And the Idaho Fish and Game has an opportunity, and from the best I can tell, is being a government that is just focused on the fun and the end user and trying to make it a good time. And what a great example to have a state park that anybody could go into, be legal, buy your license. It's not a lot of money, and just have the fishing supplies sitting right there. I mean, the world's your oyster. Go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And our agency, our mission is to preserve, protect, perpetuate wildlife, and provide. And that's a very important one. And we take that very seriously. We're providing some wonderful fishing and hunting opportunity to the public, and we take that very seriously, as well as we take the rest of our mission very seriously.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, since I've engaged with you, I have sensed and experienced your passion in it. And, you know, you've got such a great opportunity as a public information specialist. There is something going on within every 50 miles of all of Idaho, no matter where you live, if you're up in Moscow, if you're up in Coeur d'Alene, you know, if you're over in eastern Idaho in Rexburg, you could be in Driggs, you could be anywhere. I mean, that's where I grew up fishing. You can catch some amazing fish over there, or over here in western Idaho. Geez, you got Lake Lowell, you got Magic Reservoir, you got CJ Strike, and all the rivers and tributaries in between. Some of the best fishing that we have are in creeks that are only like 8 feet wide.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And I've been really privileged to be able to travel around this state a lot, both with my job and outside of my job. And the diversity and the different types of scenery and terrain that we have, You can be out, if you're a desert rat, you can be out in the Owyhees and find some reservoir down there that has some really unique, called Lahontan cutthroat trout down there.
Oh, wow.
And you can go up into the mountains. You can find something called a golden trout. You can find a grayling up there. And people just go look for these really unique opportunities. You can go up into Lake Coeur d'Alene and you can catch bass that look like they came out of the south because they're so stinking big.
Yeah.
You can go up to the Clearwater. You can catch a Chinook salmon that was swimming in the ocean a few months ago. And there's just a lot of opportunities that if people look at it and go either for a weekend or for a week-long destination and just go, what unique opportunity in this region can I take advantage of? Go over to the South Fork of the Snake River, one of my favorite. You're in the shadow of the
absolutely.
Tetons. It is one of the most spectacular river countries or river canyons in the country. Some amazing trout fishing, and you just walk away going, oh my goodness, that's the most amazing place I've ever been to until next weekend. And then you're in another one.
So this next segment, we're coming up closer to the end of this segment, but next segment, let's play some fun. You mentioned how many different species of fish that you guys manage across Idaho? How many was it?
I think it's over 40 species of game fish.
Of game fish.
Yeah.
That's just amazing to me. One of which you just mentioned, which is my love. I watched the Alaska state record grayling get caught right in front of my own eyes. And the grayling is just such a beautiful and unique fish. Looks like something that came out of the ocean. This next segment, let's play a little, hey, what about this fish? Where would you go? Just from just whatever knowledge. And let's focus on a little bit about Northern Idaho, because y'all could be listening up there. This is the Great Idaho Show. Yeah. It's not the Great Treasure Valley Show, even though we're on the greatest Treasure Valley radio station that probably reaches up there. Let's talk about Eastern Idaho. There's so much going on over there. And yes, we are here in the Treasure Valley. Let's have some fun this 4th of July. Let's give one of the greatest gifts that you can give me personally, to anybody that's an adventure family, the gift of fishing to a young person under 14 years old. Give them a pole and don't limit them. Just let them pick anything in the box, and they might surprise you. And they might surprise you with what you come out with. Before we transition into next segment with that good bit of fun, Roger, what else is going on with Fish and Game? Anything you'd like to share?
You know, we're just really busy during the summers, and we're year-round dealing with fish and wildlife matters, and we just you see us out there and you wonder what are those gals and guys doing. Go up and ask them, because
Sure.
They're more than happy to share what they're doing. It's usually something really information, even if you're not a fish nerd, but you'll learn something. You'll learn something about the area that you're in, the wildlife that's there. And you're not an inconvenience. Obviously, if they're doing something that looks a little dangerous, then give them a little room. But when you get the opportunity, go talk to them, and they'll welcome to explain what they're doing and kind of how your fishing license and hunting license dollars are put to use.
Yeah, I mean, it is, again, this is an agency, this is a government that is providing a positive impact. This isn't on those negative subjects like healthcare or Medicaid. I mean, oh my goodness, this is adventure. This is fishing. What I hope is that this is a good segment to get people inspired to go out and just go find just about any body of water in Idaho. I guarantee you're within 50 miles of catching something somewhere. You're within an hour of a great fishing experience. You can use the Idaho Fish Planner of the Idaho Department of Fish and Game, or just, look up the body of water and just go hit it with whatever you can think. There's going to be a trout in there, I'm guessing. I mean, just about everything's got a trout in it, right?
Odds are very good.
Odds are very good. But, I served in the military in the South, and bass was a foreign thing to me. Even right here in Boise, Idaho, there are ponds that are, I believe, not just stocked with bass, but there's bass in it. And if you love bass, just all you got to do is get out there and look what might hold a bass, and it probably does. Am I pretty fair to say that?
You're absolutely fair, and I'll brag. This one time, the biggest bass I've ever caught was a 19-inch largemouth, and it was caught in a Treasure Valley Pond, and that's as
That's
far
all
as
you're
I'm
gonna
going.
say? That's all, Roger. We're talking about having fun here. I guess that's half the fun, because if all the fishermen just gave away all the secrets, it wouldn't be fun anymore. You can't make it a secret until you go find it yourself.
That's
just
true.
Get your 2 legs out there and go find some water and fish for some bass.
And I will guarantee you it was not the only pond in the Treasure Valley that has 19-inch bass in it.
All right, you got to give us one. Come on, Roger. All right, you can't blame me for asking, but I think the idea is 4th of July, we got kids out there, and, for one of the most impactful things that my grandfather did for me was put a fly pole in my hand over in that eastern Idaho Snake River area, and he would hand me a fly pole with everything that I needed, and I would be gone as a 8, 10, 11, 13-year-old kid for 8 hours straight. And they were probably the happiest they've ever been. You're empowering somebody that is not only healthy, it's fun, and it gets their brains off of those digits. And it is something that you can do all over the world. So why not learn here in the great state of Idaho? We have a great department supporting that, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. It's amazing. Thank you for taking your time with us, Roger.
It's my pleasure.
So we're coming up on the end of a segment here. This is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 generation Idahoan. This is the Great Idaho Show. What is great about Idaho? Fishing. The Idaho Department of Fish and Game. They are helping you get out there, have a good time. The 4th of July is coming up. Get a kid, get a pole, get yourself out there. Let's go find some of these fish. This next segment, I'm going to talk to Roger a little bit about some of these unique fish that you can go look for and maybe turn it into a good old-fashioned adventure, almost like it's mining for gold, but we're mining for fish and having a good time doing it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, KBOI. This is Dylan Stalker. Again, the Great Idaho Show, your 3.5 generation Idahoan. Just a reminder out there, if you are all just tuning in, we are talking to Roger Phillips, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game Public Information Supervisor. What are we talking about? Fishing. Idaho is one of the greatest places in the West. There's lots of great places to fish in the West. Some of the greatest fisheries, natural fisheries, but the Idaho Department of Fish and Game makes every effort to ensure that just about every single body of water has something fun to catch. And Roger, in this last segment, was talking about how many different species that they are managing and putting out in these waters. So we're going to do a thing here. We're going to talk about northern Idaho, then eastern Idaho, and then right here in the Great Treasure Valley, the home of the KBOI, best radio station ever in Idaho. Let's talk about some of these unique species. Up in northern Idaho, what's one that comes to mind that somebody could go out and just try to catch?
The one that comes to mind for me is the lake trout up there, and they're not exactly unique. They're relatively common, but Priest Lake is just an amazing place to fish. Okay. I had a friend take me out there, and we caught a bunch of those things, and I just, for some weird reason, never was very impressed with the idea of eating lake trout. And then I ate them, and they were fantastic. And they were about these 16 to 20-inch fish. They were fun to catch. It was a new opportunity for me, and anytime I get that chance, I always want to take advantage of it. And I just walked away really happy, and I got to kind of put that one in my resume of another fish that I caught and really enjoyed. So that was kind of a surprise for me that I enjoyed lake trout fishing as much as I did.
So we're talking about Priest Lake, northern Idaho.
Yes.
We're talking about the lake trout. I have never caught one, but we're talking about down rigging and getting down there, is that something you can catch on the bank? I mean, you've got to know your rig to catch a lake trout.
Yeah, it's pretty much a boating show, but it wasn't down riggers. He found some on the fish finder, and he said, handed me a rod, and he said, drop it and jig. And so you find the bottom and jig.
Yeah.
So even a fly fisherman like me can figure that one out.
But you might pull up an 18-pound lake trout. You might pull up the biggest thing you've ever seen in your whole life.
Yeah, at one time there's 50-pounders in there. So, that's another thing that's amazing about lake trout is they live almost as long as we do. Yeah. And so they get the opportunity to grow great big. And so it's always fun, even if you're catching, 16, 20-inch fish, which are pretty modest on lake trout terms, knowing that you don't know what's going to hit your rod, and it might be one of those days when you reel up a the fish of a lifetime.
Yeah, 30-pound lake trout, something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? And they do exist. So we were just talking about Priest Lake up in northern Idaho. This is the Great Idaho Show. We cover it all, not just the Treasure Valley. Eastern Idaho, again, where I grew up, cutthroat trout in the Swan Valley area. And man, there wasn't anything less than 18 inches when I was a kid. But in the species of fish, what's a unique species of fish that people might not think about over there?
Ooh, that's a good one for that area because we really pride our. Okay, I just thought of one. We have Bonneville cutthroat trout down in Bear Lake. Now people can catch a few of them because we've done massive restoration down there. That's a very unique fish, even though cutthroat are common in Idaho. We have 3 species. We have West Slopes, Yellowstones, and Bonneville. And Bonneville are only down there in that southeast part of the state. So that's a really cool opportunity to go catch a fish that you can't catch anyplace else.
So when you're thinking of Bear Lake, and dear goodness gracious, I hope I don't ask a question that I'm not catching. Bear Lake is closer to which metropolitan area or some town or sorts?
It's south of Pocatello, and we actually share it with Utah.
But that's like
we're pretty generous to share it with Utah. We should have just had a civil war and moved that line a little farther.
Don't share anything with Utah.
We're nice people. We're nice people.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got our fish. I mean, you're lucky. Thank you, Utah. You're welcome, Utah. No, I love that. So what is a unique identifier for knowing whether you caught a Bonneville?
If you catch that at Bear Lake, it's a Bonneville. And yeah, it'll still look like a cutthroat, but it's going to be a unique looking cutthroat.
Huh. That's interesting. I'm going to have to look that one up. I thought all I knew was cutthroat. I didn't know that there was even 3 species of cutthroat.
Yeah. And to sweeten it a little bit better, they get up to 10 pounds. So I think they get bigger than that. I'm pretty sure that they do. So they get big because this is a lake fish that goes out there and eats a bunch of other fish and grows great big. So
yeah, they gobble up all those fingerlings that you're sticking in there for them.
Yeah.
And, that Pocatello area, you've got a lot of places that you can go. But again, you got the Snake River. We're talking about Bear Lake and some place to catch a unique cutthroat. Moving over to the Treasure Valley, I'm going to ask a selfish one. Is there an opportunity, I'll say within 2 hours of Boise, to catch a grayling?
That would be a tough one because you're going to have to go up into the mountains and find the lakes that have those.
Yeah.
I know that there was some up in the McCall area, which is you can get to McCall in 2 hours.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can get up to the lake in 2 hours, but yeah. So there's some grayling out there, and it's another one of those that we kind of stock when we have the opportunity. But I know there's some up in the Sawtooth. I believe the state record came out of the Sawtooth. And so, yeah, that is a really unique fish and something that if you don't go up into the catch them in Idaho's mountain lakes, then you probably have to go as far as northern Montana, Canada to get them. Yeah,
you're going into like north of Dillon into the Beaverhead, or you're going into some of those colder, higher, probably above 5,000 foot type streams or tributaries or lakes or something for
so we're going to save you some gas money.
Yeah, well, thank you. Idaho Fish and Game doing it right for us. I'll call out one in the Treasure Valley area that I personally caught, and it blew my mind. Wasn't expecting it. It was out of the Middle Fork of the Boise, but I caught a golden trout. I wasn't expecting it. Where else would people might go adventure looking for one of those?
Okay, so there's 2 things that are called golden trout.
Okay.
And one is the true golden trout that comes out of the California, I believe, out of the Sierras. They're native to that. And we stock those in some of the areas. And then there's what people affectionately call the banana trout.
Okay.
Which is the yellow version. And they're out of the Magic Valley, and they're actually a rainbow trout with a color pigmentation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's kind of like an albino, but instead of being white, it's gold, kind of yellowish color.
Huh.
And they're a pretty fascinating fish, and I won't go off on too much of a tangent, but considering myself the outstanding angler that I am, I spotted one down in the Hagerman area and spent about an hour throwing everything I knew how to throw at it because it's sitting there and it's yellow. It's easy to see. And I couldn't catch it, and so I don't like those anymore.
Did it even budge, though?
No,
it just sat there like a rock?
Yeah, nice try,
You
pal.
probably
you
hit
and
it
10
in the
other
face
losers.
with your lure or something. It's like, yeah, good try, buddy.
Yeah, so I don't like those anymore. But hopefully you caught one of the true California golden trout.
It was spectacular. It was just, I'll never forget it. It was a dream for me. And the Middle Fork, you driving up through Arrow Rock, you got a lot of lefty turns, righty turns to get there, but there's some great fishing all the way up along there. And one that I'll call out, and yes, read the signs, follow the laws, know what fish you're catching. It isn't just a heyday out there, but the good old bull trout.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another one that I'm glad you brought that one up, because for a long time, there was this kind of attitude that, no, I'm not supposed to catch bull trout because they're endangered.
Yeah.
No, you can catch bull trout all you want. You just have to release them immediately. And most people are very, know how to do that. And yeah, a fantastic fish that I've caught, a fair number of them, and I go looking for them. And you either got to get really lucky or got to change your game plan a little bit, figure out where they're at, and then target those fish. But I think the biggest trout I've ever caught in Idaho was a bull trout, and just a fantastic fish and a great trophy fishing opportunity.
And they are so surprising where the lunkers hide out.
Yeah.
Would blow your mind. I mean, yes, you can go below Anderson Dam and, fish the South Fork right beneath there and get into some deeper waters and play some strategies. I'm throwing out an idea for y'all in a great fishery, by the way. Read your rules and regulations about catch and release and what you're catching in those specific waters. But there's some places that they are just hiding out in the smallest little freshwater hole that you wouldn't even imagine was a fish, and what you thought was a rock was a giant bull trout, and you never know. You just never know.
I'll give them a little hint too. That white on their fins can sometimes be a dead giveaway. Yeah. And sometimes also you won't see the fish, you'll see the shadow of the fish.
Right.
And you'll go, well, that's weird. What's making that shadow, and why is that shadow moving? Because there's a bull trout that's making that shadow. Man,
I mean, what a lifetime opportunity. We're sitting here with Roger Phillips of Idaho Department of Fish and Game. This is about fun. This is about fishing. This is about the 4th of July. We've got what I hear is over 40 different species of types of fish that you can go and find. I can assure you it's within an hour's drive of you. And if you want to get adventuresome, go into the mountains, take a chainsaw, ladies and gentlemen, because this is coming from an Idaho man that knows what I'm talking about. Take a chainsaw or a handsaw with you. You want to have a good time, but you're still out there technically in the forested areas. Another thing that I'll support Roger with is if you don't have a license and you got cell phone serve, just buy the license. You might be tempted, but it's that second that water hits the line, the water, woo, they're right there.
Yeah.
We got 25 seconds here. Roger, thank you for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure. And I just genuinely hope that everybody, first off, enjoys their 4th of July weekend. And if you get the opportunity to try fishing, you won't be disappointed.
This is the Great Idaho Show. This is Dylan Stalker, your 3.5 Generation Idaho. Get out and fish, ladies and gentlemen. You'll have a great time, we assure you.